Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chain Abstraction Hackathon launch powered by Particle Network. Lovely to see everyone here. I am going to give you a quick rundown of what the hackathon is, and then we're going to hear from sponsors about their bounties. So stay tuned for that. A bit about Encode Club before we begin. We are a global community of top developers, professionals, and talented students in emerging tech. I am your program manager, Emma. Nice to meet you, everyone. You can follow me on Twitter, ask me any questions in our Discord or Telegram, which you'll find at the bottom of your emails as well, I think. And what do we do at Encode? We organize educates, hackathons, accelerator bootcamps, and recruitment as well for our community of over 500,000 trained Web2 and Web3 developers. Obviously, this is a hackathon. We've done educates for chain abstraction as well. And stay tuned, there will also be another educate chain abstraction series after this hackathon. A little bit about this specific program. This is a 4-week online hackathon for simplifying user interactions and development across multiple blockchains, which you will hear a bit more about in a minute. But I'm going to invite Eomji up on the stage now, our head of research and operations at Encode Club. Please, Eomji, join the stage. Oh, hello.
Hello, everyone. Happy to meet you. Very excited today. Especially like a chain abstract series. Why chain abstraction has been like trend for perhaps last month is I was seeing a lot of articles and like people talking about on Twitter and everything, but yeah, like there's not so many like comprehensive overview of the tag and entire like a series that developers can follow and learn. So we were very excited once when we made the chain abstraction educate series with amazing partners, and following that we could pull out hackathons so you can actually utilize those tag and building an app. Soon you will see all those details and how you can utilize those tech in which part of your app and making truly chain abstracted app, which users can have like better user experience and using the app to talk to like a multiple things at the same time without going through a tedious process. Overall, why chain abstraction is really, really interesting topic. Also, of course, a lot of you are joining this, maybe interested in the topic, interested in a specific project, or this just happened to be your first ever blockchain related program. So in any phase you are in, we are very welcoming you, and this is going to be a great learning opportunity. And guess what? After this, you will also make great friends and fellows who are going to be building together. You may meet your future founders here. You may meet like your perhaps like future employees or like even your employers in the hackathon. That there's a several cases that hacker start to, continuously building and joining some protocols they met during this time. Or like you are building an amazing project, applying for the grants, and 2-3 years, you become a founder coming back to provide opportunity back to community. So overall, everyone, please get excited. And Emma, of course, like an all Encode Club member is going to be your best friend for next weeks. Once when you're building, when you need a new idea, when you want to ping pong your thoughts, or like if you have some difficulties building on this new technical concepts, we will be around and helping you further. So most important thing is like this is not about the result and process, which is such a perhaps lame statement, but I must say that this is like very like fundamental truth that it's so lame that everyone gonna mention. What you're gonna learn through this process is most important thing, and I'm sure after a few times you will find that what is the right fit for you and going further, and this gonna be just a start of your bright future. So again, everyone, welcome to the hackathon, and please don't hesitate to contact us. If you missed the educate series, also don't forget to watch that. We are very proud of those contents, so that you must like watch and use that and utilize those knowledge in the hackathon as well. So good luck and see you soon.
Great introduction. Thank you, Eomji. And I will invite Ethan from Particle Network to give a couple of words and introduce chain abstraction as well as before I introduce the sponsors as well. Hi, Ethan.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, it's great to be here. we're pumped for this hackathon. I guess, before I kind of get into it, let me just go ahead and kind of define like what is chain abstraction, right? And as was just mentioned, chain abstraction has been one of the kind of more popular ideas in this space over the past 6 to 12 months, and for good reason, because chain abstraction is actually one of the only kind of like infrastructural movements and narratives at the moment that makes it a tangible, significant improvement to user experience. Specifically, chain abstraction, what it does is that it essentially removes the necessity to manually bridge from end users and to kind of manually manage different chains. And so as a user, what we're doing here with chain abstraction is creating experiences that you can consider to be chain agnostic. So this means that as a user, I go to an application, that application can be built on any blockchain. I can have assets on any chain, and I just use that application, right? Because today, what users currently are required to do in the landscape is that I have some assets on, Base, on Ethereum, on Polygon, whatever. I go to an application built on BNB chain. I have to bridge and I have to kind of figure out where are my balances on what chains. And okay, this application is on BNB. And so I need to manage all this. Like, it's a pretty massive headache for end users. It introduces a lot of like cognitive barrier to entry because they need to learn how to manage all these different things, learn how to use different bridges, right? And so this right now is one of Web3's biggest points of friction. From an application perspective, from a user onboarding perspective, this just presents a significant limitation to how many users you can actually get into your application, and how easy it is for them to start using it. And so chain abstraction is just the removal of all that complexity. It's just simply building an application that can serve users from any point in the ecosystem, whether that user has assets on Base or on BNB chain or on Ethereum or wherever it may be, even potentially in Cosmos. They can use your application without needing to bridge or really even know that they're using an application that is located somewhere other than where their assets are. Everything feels like it's located on a single chain. And this is like really the big idea behind chain abstraction. Simply, chain abstraction is formally defined as a user experience exempt from the manual processes required to interact with multiple chains. So it's just an application that doesn't require bridging, doesn't require, really knowing where it's built and stuff like this. And so it's chain agnostic. And so specifically, as kind of the last I introduced, my name is Tabasco, and I do developer relations at Particle Network. And we specifically do account level chain abstraction, as you can see here. So chain abstraction, as we'll kind of get into with some of the sponsors in a little while, is basically a collection of technologies that enable the experience I just mentioned a moment ago. And so specifically, chain abstraction can kind of be understood through kind of three main points of infrastructure. The first is account level chain abstraction. This is actually what we build at Particle Network. And so account level chain abstraction is essentially most often categorized as a sort of evolution of account abstraction, which is actually an account that users can use that are basically unified balances. And so this account, in this case at Particle, we built something called universal accounts, provides users with balances that are basically the same. They're standard across all chains. And so if I have, for example, 5 USDC on Polygon, 5 USDC on Base, and 5 USDC on BNB chain, then I actually have 15 USDC that I can use universally wherever I want. And so my balance within the account level is basically the same across every chain, across every application, regardless of where those balances are actually located. It's a constant balance. So the account level is simply giving users the ability to use the same balance on every application. The application level, which is going to be some of the bounty sponsors like Cluster, Agoric, and Octo. This is basically what allows developers to create applications that can span multiple chains and do transactions and do operations on multiple chains simultaneously with a single signature, right? So for example, if I want a user to do an operation that, maybe executes actions on, in this example, Base, Polygon, and BNB chain, then with these application level solutions, or otherwise known as orchestration solutions, I can do this. The user will sign one transaction and we can do actions on multiple chains. And so this kind of presents an interesting dynamic where you can basically, through this hackathon, you can create applications that have two properties. The first is that the application can onboard users from any chain. The application can serve users that have assets anywhere. This is done through the account level. This is done through something like a universal account, right? It's the ability to draw users from any chain, from any source, without them needing to bridge. Then your application itself can span multiple chains. So it can actually execute transactions on 3, 4, 5, 6, however many chains you want. And your application can intrinsically be chain agnostic. So it can actually, as I mentioned, have workflows that span multiple chains without the user even knowing. So all the user knows is that they are just interacting with an application. They have assets. The user doesn't care where those assets are. The user doesn't care what chains your application is interacting with, because everything is just a single signature. It's one source of assets. And so it becomes very Web 2-like for them, right? You can create really complicated, highly innovative, like brand new application types that weren't possible before. And for the end user, all they're doing, they're logging in with something like MetaMask or with their social logins or whatever. They have their assets, they use your application, and then what is happening underneath can be some intense complexity made possible by particle networks with universal accounts, Cluster, Agoric, Octo, and of course, as the last slide showed as well, you even have some foundational infrastructure like SATA for these kind of like chain agnostic infrastructure, in this case, Oracle infrastructure, which I'm sure they'll highlight in a little while as well. So this is essentially kind of what we're trying to get with this hackathon. We're trying to get basically the first ever chain agnostic, chain abstracted applications. This hackathon is actually the first chain abstraction hackathon to ever be done, because chain abstraction is a relatively new concept. And so a lot of this infrastructure that I just talked about, from particle with universal cluster, working Octo with orchestration, to SATA with these oracles, this is a relatively new infrastructure. And so this hackathon is basically the first way to really generate and get some of these initial chain agnostic, chain abstraction applications live and kind of in the market. So for those of you that are in here, you're basically you have an opportunity at the moment to build an application that is a completely new primitive. It's something that is brand new to the ecosystem. And so these applications are going to have better UX than pretty much everything else on the market. It's going to be more accessible for existing users, for brand new users in the ecosystem. And these applications can be more complex. They can, of course, as I mentioned a moment ago, span multiple different chains. They can execute operations that are on multiple different chains. And so this is this presents pretty immense opportunity in the kind of the problem space of Web3. You can create applications that basically can leverage advantages from multiple different chains, contracts from multiple different chains, and you can onboard users from anywhere. So this is really kind of the goal of what we're building here and what we want from this hackathon. Use particle network and universal accounts to onboard users, have them spend assets from anywhere, and use orchestration solutions to execute transactions anywhere. And so this is really kind of the core of the hackathon, and we're really excited about what's going to come out of this. I think that hopefully, and what I think is definitely going to be possible is that those that are building applications here that are truly chain agnostic and chain abstracted through this infrastructure are going to find a very high praise from the ecosystem. This is something that people really want. We've seen this on a significant level. Like, people are really excited about this type of UX. It's a significant improvement, especially within the Ethereum ecosystem, over what we currently have. It's night and day for people. Like, it's kind of like people have a light bulb moment whenever they try it. And so I think that within this hackathon, we're going to see some really special applications pop up that we're pretty pumped about. So that's a little bit more about kind of what this hackathon is, the stack that we're trying to build through here, and kind of some of the goals of the hackathon. And so that's kind of mostly it from my side for now. I think we can move on.
Thank you, Ethan, for this lovely introduction. I wish I was hacking as well now. I am going to move on to describing the sponsors, and then welcome you back again to introduce Particles prize. But together with Particles Network, we also have people from Cluster, SATA, Octo, and Agoric all sponsoring this hackathon for a prize pool, I think, of above 45,000 US dollars. And thank you to everyone for sponsoring this hackathon. I'm going to move on to the grand prize. Ethan, if you could introduce the prize a little bit and describe what you're looking for. Where's Ethan gone? Let me get him back on the stage.
Perfect. Yeah. Happy to kind of go through the grand prize here and whatnot. So the grand prize, what we have is about $10,000 in grand prize, and then I believe between all the other bounties, it's around 30,000 in bounties, if I'm correct. And so basically what we wanted to do here was kind of in the first place, kind of give everybody a foundation for, regardless of what stack you use or which bounties you want to submit for. The grand prize is going to just generally reward kind of the best chain abstract application. So whether you use Particle Network or whether you use Cluster or Agoric Octo, it doesn't matter what combination of bounties you choose to submit to. Regardless, you can qualify for the grand prize as long as you use at least one kind of like chain abstracted infrastructure here. Of course, ideally you use multiple, but in this case, kind of this prize is just for all applications that submit. Whoever essentially kind of creates the most unique and natively chain abstracted experience can qualify for this bounty. And so really what we're looking for here is just very simply implementations of chain abstraction. you can build any type of application, whether that's DeFi, kind of more consumer facing stuff like social or gaming or whatever. Any application you can imagine can work here, any vertical, as long as that application uses some sort of chain abstraction infrastructure that, of course, the Bounty sponsors are providing to create an experience that users can basically use your application without the necessity to bridge. And of course, like your application can serve users from any point in the ecosystem. And so the grand prize is just basically kind of that all-encompassing thing. Every application that submits has the opportunity to win the grand prize alongside whatever bounties you submit to. So for example, if you submit to the Particle Network bounty and, I don't know, the Agoric bounty or the Cluster bounty, then you can win the prizes from those bounties alongside the grand prize if your application stands out among the rest. And so all we're looking for here is good implementations of chain abstraction that can really kind of stand out to hopefully impress people and, kind of be arbiters of really what we're trying to express here with the chain abstraction vision. For Particle Network and our bounty specifically, we've also provided around $10,000 for our bounty. So $10,000 grand prize for everybody that submits. And if you choose to use Particle Network's universal accounts, $10,000 for our bounty specifically. Our bounty is more kind of narrowed to those that use our Universal Account SDK to onboard users. Our Universal Account SDK, as I think I'll get into in the workshop later today, or I guess in like 30 minutes or so, is very similar to kind of typical account abstraction SDKs that you might be familiar with using if you built in that space before. This just plugs directly into your application. It's very, very simple. It takes no more than around 30 lines of code and essentially allows users to use a smart account that can hold assets anywhere and do transactions anywhere. It basically automatically bridges for end users. And so I'll get more into this later and kind of how that materializes, how it works, and how you can actually implement this. But this bounty is for everybody that integrates those. And so if you use our universal accounts and you integrate the SDK, you can submit to this bounty. And basically kind of first, second, and third prize is just going to be distributed to the best applications that submit within this category. So if you build a particularly strong application that, like I mentioned earlier, is natively chain abstracted, that makes good use of the SDK, that really onboards users in this sort of like chain agnostic way, then you can submit to this bounty and potentially win one of those three prizes, with first prize at $6,000, second prize at $3,000, and the third prize at $1,000. So that's kind of how we're formatting on the Particle side. Very excited to see who kind of submits this and the projects that come out of this. I think that, especially with universal accounts, it's so easy to implement, and it's basically applicable to every type of application scenario as just kind of that base level onboarding primitive. And so I think that if you're building the hackathon, you can use universal accounts. It's going to be very, very low hanging fruit and very easy for you to implement, and will have pretty massive UX benefits. And then of course you can qualify for both the universal account bounty and the grand prize. And so if you build something nice here, I think you have a pretty good chance of hopefully winning a bounty and kind of using that to kickstart your project. So that's about it from my side in terms of the grand prize and the Particle Network bounty.
Great. Thank you for the lovely description. I think that's it for Particle's bounties. Let's move on to Seda. Jasper, if you could take up the stage invite in a second. Yes, perfect. So, hi Jasper. If you could just run us a little bit through what Seda is looking for and the difference between the prizes and the honorary prize as well.
Yeah, for sure thing. So Seda's building modular Oracle infrastructure, allowing people to sort of like spin up their own data feeds and access them from any chain. What we're looking for here is some of the more creative Seda Oracle programs. So yeah, it can be some sort of price feed, like an index, can be implementing on-chain data in order to build, I don't know, maybe some interoperability for some transaction applications. It can be anything, yeah, anything that will be eventually used in a chain abstracted app. And yeah, we judge it based on 3 factors. The first one being creativity. So sort of like, yeah, if it's just a standard price feed, it might be a little bit less interesting unless you added some sort of creative spin to it. Applicability, so like how likely is it that this will actually be usable or used into the future? And then the security of the feed as well. Like, have you thought about sort of like the security considerations of like querying, yeah, sort of like off-chain data? We give bonus points if you create a connector using the Seda data proxy that connects the Seda network to private data. So if there's any sort of data you need but that's not available yet through the SATA network, reach out, we'll help you set that up, but that's definitely bonus points. And yeah, I mean, the prices are pretty much based on sort of like, yeah, those three main sort of like categories. And based on how we rank you within those three categories, like we'll distribute the prize money. The honorary prize is basically if we see a bunch of cool, more basic feats, like we still want to give you some reward for building with SATA. So that's what the honorary prizes are for. Yeah, for any technical questions or feedback, don't hesitate to join our Discord. You can find it at the SATA.xyz. And for any documentation, you can go to docs.sata.xyz.
Great. Thank you, Jasper. I'll paste the links in the chat as well. We are moving on to cluster now. So I'm going to invite Ivan up on the stage. Hi.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to the stage. If you could give us a couple of words about cluster and what you're looking for as well.
Yes, and before I do that, I just want to say huge thanks to Tabasco for the great intro explaining what chain abstraction is. It's a fairly new topic, and all of the projects that you see here are at the absolute bleeding edge of technology. So this is really fresh. It's actually really cool to see everyone here, and yeah, really looking forward to it. So yeah, at Cluster, so this is basically your chance to dive deep into our Cluster powerful cross-chain tools and stack, so you can create these groundbreaking decentralized applications that work seamlessly across multiple chains. So whether you are an experienced coder or just getting started out, this event, this hackathon, really this Cluster prize is designed for you to basically just play with. It's definitely going to challenge you no matter your skill level. So with the access to Cluster SDK, you can experiment with these different smart accounts, interchange transactions, different bridges, and so on. We will be judging the quality of the projects by the user experience offered. So let's say you want to build a really simple on-chain application that allows users to put some money, let's say from they have some USDC on Optimism, but you provide a flow that allows it to stake that money onto Aerodrome on Base with a single click. This is going to be really highly rewarded by our team. So we are really looking for these simple flows. Yeah, if you need any help, you can reach out to us on Twitter. We're going to be spending our time on Discord as well. So cluster.io. And yeah, just simple UX. Abstracting away the blockchain from the user and just keeping it simple. That would be it. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for the introduction to Cluster as well. I'm going to move on to Agoric now and invite Giovanni onto the stage as well. Should receive an invite. Oh,
Hello. Pleasure to be here.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Welcome to the stage.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for having us. We love working with you. And for those in the audience, my name is Giovanni. I'm the developer relations engineer here at Agoric. And for those who were not in Singapore last week, just know that this chain abstraction narrative is actually growing pretty well. It was really nice to see an entire chain abstraction summit being held there, and see so many, bright faces and excited people. So I think that this space is one of the most exciting spaces in the entire ecosystem. But okay, so thanks for having us. I think for starters, we like to think that Agoric is building the orchestration layer of Web3. A little bit more concretely, Agoric is a layer 1, and we allow developers to write smart contracts in JavaScript because JavaScript is one of the most well-known languages in the world. And if you think about it at its core, Agoric orchestration is about really simplifying the complexity of cross-chain interactions. So really developers, they can use the powers of asynchronous JavaScript to write truly complex cross-chain interactions. And this allows for some truly powerful applications. For users, this really means frictionless one-click interactions across multiple blockchains. And for devs, mainly, this means orchestration pretty much offers a unique capability of multi-block execution. And what this means is, when you're doing cross-chain interactions, it's inherently multi-block. Although transactions are typically meant to be atomic in Web3, cross-chain interactions are inherently multi-block. And when you look at the powers of JavaScript, this allows for something that's really intuitive for developers doing real cross-chain stuff. So if you look at our prizes, we try to think about, because building cross-chain applications is not simple. And so we wanted to obviously have some ranked prizes here. So we have first prize at $5,000, second prize at $2,500. But this honorary prize is really purposeful because, because this type of developer is not easy. We want developers to be incentivized to at least try. And so the way that we're really judging these submissions is our rubric really includes 3 areas. So one is going to be completeness, right? We may not be looking for you to finish your application, but bonus points will go to teams who get further towards that. The second piece is going to be innovation. And the third piece is going to be difficulty. And so you'll get bonus points if you're more innovative and if what you're building is a little bit more difficult. And then also people will get bonus points if, they have some lightweight documentation around what they're doing and just overall how they present their project. So just keep this in mind. Let's say for example, let's say if you wanted to build a cross-chain staking application or a cross-chain swapping application, you can pretty much use the building blocks of the Agoric API. And we recently released the orchestration API. Sorry, I said Agoric API. I meant to say orchestration API. We recently released the orchestration API, which gives you the ability to make orchestration accounts across chain. So these are typically interchain accounts. So you can make these in contracts, and you can also trigger transfers to and from these orchestration accounts. You can invoke the delegate and undelegate functionality on these accounts as well. And if you go to docs.agoric.com, you'll see that we have a set of API surface functions that you can call with our orchestration API. And so any team that is able to creatively use these building blocks to bring to life a complex cross-chain application will do pretty well in our bounties here. So, and lastly, I myself, I'll be helping you guys throughout the hackathon. So I'll be heavy in the Discord. You guys can reach out to me. We can do one-on-one sessions if you need. But we plan on extending to you a bunch of help while you're hacking away at this. So no worries. And then also on Monday, we have a session that will help you set up all of the tooling that you're going to be able to use during the hackathon. So how do you set up your cross-chain environment, etc. So it's all local. We'll help you every step of the way. So no worries. But hopefully these bounties make sense. And please feel free, if you have any questions beforehand, jump in the Discord or just ping me on Twitter if you need to at my first name. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And I think to sum it up, Agoric is the platform that we think will enable the next generation of cross-chain composable Web3 applications. And once again, thanks for having us.
Thank you, Giovanni, for the lovely intro to Agoric. Last but not least, we're going to move on to Octo. Olivia, if you could please join the stage and present the prize pool and what Octo is looking for. Also, everyone in the chat, if you have any questions, please join the next workshop starting in a little bit, where there will be space for Q&A as well. Olivia, you should receive an invite to join. Oh, getting ready. Perfect. Some people in the chat as well. Thank you everyone for attending. Hi, Olivia. Welcome to the stage.
Hey everyone, GM. A big thanks to Encode Club and Particle Network for putting this together. So I don't need to motivate chain abstraction. Eomji and Tabasco have done a great job. And as Giovanni said, like this narrative has been there for a while and it's picking up drastically. It's one of the narratives that has seen about 300x growth. I saw in some tweets somewhere. So Octo is a transaction orchestration layer. What I mean by that is we have built a platform which will give a Web2-like building experience to build on Web3. We want to make it simpler to onboard Web2 users, users and Web2 developers to build any dApp on Web3. We have a couple of EVM chains, Polygon Base, and other layer ones like Aptos and Solana. So building on any of these chains is the same API call to transfer tokens, to transfer NFTs, or to any smart contract invocation is the same API call. And this is the developer experience that we want to achieve. So the Web2 developer has to only think about his business logic and user experience, and doesn't have to worry about any of the Web3 complexities like, gas abstraction, thinking about gas fees, how to estimate gas fees, how to add gas fees, creation of accounts and managing his users, things like nonce management for each transaction, and sending a transaction on each of these ecosystems is very different, and he doesn't have to learn all that. So the entire learning curve of Web3 is removed. It's abstracted out for the Web2 developer. This is what Octo is trying to achieve. So please check out our docs. I'm also sharing the link to our Discord. This is the channel that we've created specifically for the Encode Club Hackathon. So any questions that you have, I'm there in the Discord, and you can also reach out to me on Twitter. Happy to clear your doubts. We have a prize pool of $3,000. So we haven't decided how many prizes to give out. So let me tell you about a little bit about the judging criteria. We want to see the most innovative dApp built on the Octo SDK. So what I mean by that, we have 3 front-end facing SDKs: React, React Native, and Flutter. And we also have a bunch of client APIs. So you can use any of these tools to build your application. So you can do anything with tokens or NFTs. And we also have a raw transaction execute, which means you can invoke or interact with any smart contract on chain across the chains that I just mentioned. So we have a self-serve admin dashboard where you can get an API key and get started in less than 5 minutes. So we will be judging you on the novelty of your application, like the innovativeness and the creativity that you've shown in the application. And we also want a long-term relationship with your project. So Octo has a grants program. So if we like your project, we'll be happy to onboard you and guide you through making your project bigger and adding your project to our portfolio of projects. And even if you want to make it convert it into a company, we'll be happy to help you do that. So this is a long-term engagement. We're offering $3,000 as like a starter price. We'll be choosing from either 1 to 3 teams for this pool. And yeah, happy to answer any questions, and looking forward to seeing what you guys build.
Great, thank you, Ovia, for the lovely motivating words as well. Hopefully this should give everyone a better picture of what the bounties are for, and also be a great motivating factor as well. Someone is asking, can someone build for various teams or companies for Octo?
Yeah, of course, you can feel free to combine the bounties, but you will have to build on the Octo SDK. So in your submission, we'll be seeing, like, you'll have to show us the code snippets where you've integrated Octo and also a UI UX demo. So in the demo, it's good. You don't have to build out the entire application, but seeing one end-to-end workflow is important. We should be able to deploy it ourselves and check out an entire, entire functionality from what the user inputs to seeing it on chain.
Great, thank you, Ovia, so much for the introduction. I'm going to move on. We are running a bit tight on time. So frequently asked questions, all the organization happens on Discord. You can enter existing projects. Anyone can take part. There will be technical support provided by every single sponsor in our technical questions channel. And if you're looking for a team, we can match you up with one, or you can build solo as well. all of this info, again, is in the hacker pack. A rundown on the workshop dates. You can take a screenshot. This is obviously all uploaded on YouTube as well. And key dates and deadlines. The finale is on November 6th and submission deadline October 20th. And this is where you can join the community and find out more about programs as well.